Dear students, well, all of you have now handed in your first pre-proposal, or at least most of you, and the basic idea for the next step of the research design course is that you find a very relevant article to your research. What does that mean? Well, on the one hand side, this might mean that you find an article that is interesting because it tells something along the lines that you are going to pursue your research with, or because it might be something that explains at least a part of your research, or it might be an article that is the complete opposite, that tells us something about the topic that you want to do research with, but in a completely different way. And you are saying, well, okay, this is what is out there, and from there I started to think about that a research might be important that goes into a different direction. So these are basically the ideas for the article that you're going to present. That's the first thing. The second thing that you're going to do for the next weeks is to start doing peer reviews of the research projects of the other students. So you're going to find in the wiki the research projects of all the other students of your aula, and I divided the class in two different groups. And you have to do the review of all the members of your group in which you are in. So you are going to revise the projects of all the other students of your group. Why is that useful for you? Well, on the one hand side, it obviously teaches you something about the way you have to expose your project. Many of you have written a project, but some of you have written it in a way that it's very difficult to understand step by step what you're actually going to do, what's actually the purpose, what's the idea, what is the object, and so on and so on. So understanding this kind of different things is sometimes difficult for you, because obviously you are immersed in your research, you know everything, and the way you explain things to others is based on that knowledge that you have yourself, not on the knowledge that the other might have. But a research project is not something that you write to yourself, it's something that you write for an audience. So having in mind an audience, having in mind someone who might not really know about your research project and what he sees can be sometimes be really, really helpful. In interdisciplinary research, we usually say that the other discipline brings kind of a perspective to one's own discipline that is more critical and a little bit more distanced. And because it's distance, it might see lacks, problems, or opportunities that you yourself can't see. So the idea is basically to get this kind of elements into the work with your research projects. That's why we are doing the peer review. Third thing, and another important thing that you need to think of for the next weeks, is to slowly think about how and in which way you could settle down more or less your research into some kind of empirical object. Where could you study that, what you are going to ask or what you are claiming with your research project? Where can you look for that? So it might be an object, it might be an archive, it might be documents, it might be people. Depending on what your research question or claims is, it might be different things. But make sure that people will understand why you are looking there for an answer to your research question, or why you try to prove there whether your claim is right or false. That's the basic idea that you are going to do, or that you need to do with your research project during the next step. So this is more or less what you're going to do in parallel during the next weeks. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Comments, suggestions, everything's very welcome. And see you around.